In the same vein, the state took over administering food aid, child care, and medical assistance from the county. There were claims that this was politically motivated at the time, but the county consistently failed national and state standards in providing these benefits the state charged. Was that charge true? Toddler Christopher Thomas died while the Child Welfare Bureau was county-run. And if there were failings and inadequacies, same question, how responsible
And actually,
should
child
voters?
welfare was run by the state.
Okay, great. Okay.
Child welfare is definitely,
All right.
your paper
Very quick.
normally doesn't mention it until about 20 paragraphs
All right.
in, but
My-
child welfare has been run by the state for the past decade and a half.
Okay, my apologies. So how responsible should you be held for the state taking over those other functions?
Well, shared responsibility in the sense that the state mandates that for all counties. And the state back in the early 2000s, about, I think it was 2004, 2005, cut the county's share for that by about $2.5 million. So they expected us to do not only the same amount of work, but more work for less money. We proposed a series of changes, some of which went through and some of which, frankly, got tied up with the county board. One of the best ones near the time of that transition was something where we proposed going to Impact, the organization, as you know, that runs the 211 line. That change alone would have increased the number of calls we could take, the number of people we served by 78%. Unfortunately, the county board didn't want to go along with it, and I think at the time, I don't remember if Ernie probably wrote it, but I think one of your editorials wrote an editorial and supported that, saying that was a good idea. Unfortunately, the county board, for whatever reasons, not all, people like Peggy West and others thought it was a good idea, even though she's not necessarily a political ally of mine on other issues. I think there's no doubt in saying it was political at the time of the transition. And I say that not because of me, but because Peggy West and Beth Coggs, two people that I don't think anybody here would confuse as being allies of mine, said so. They said as much. That's what they told your reporters. And later, we found a number of open records that suggested that Secretary Timberlake and others were implying the same sorts of things. If you look at the information even several months afterwards, their numbers compared where the county at were worse off than where the counties were. It's only of recent times where they've started to add more money to try and get their numbers back up. But that goes back to the point we made early on, that for less money and more recipients, there's no way you could expect the county to improve upon the services. Now, I made, besides that suggestion for Impact, I had made years before that, when Helene Nelson was the Secretary of Health and Human Services for the state, another suggestion that Rob Hankin at the time had proposed to us, and that was simply that those functions be turned over to the state with the funding attached, but because of the legacy cost in Milwaukee County with the pensions in particular being so much higher than state workers, that for the same amount of money, you could greatly expand the number of people who could work directly with recipients. Again, another proposal we put on the table that the state said they weren't interested at the time because the governor then was trying to cut positions and not add them. So we've shown consistently measures to try and fix those challenges, to improve those challenges. I think the issue is, if you look at the comparison, the state didn't do any better for the same amount of money, and it's only now that they've realized that they're pouring more in, that they're making a difference there.